Hi everyone. So this is going to be a tutorial. I haven't done a tutorial for a while. Um, so this is going to be a step-by-step progression to wheel pose. So wheel pose is basically bridge, but pushing your hands into the floor to create that full wheel rather than a bridge. So bridge is when we keep our shoulders down. So oh, there we go. Again, come on, just in time. So just to give you a recap of what the pose is, just so you can visually see. I have warmed up a little bit. So full wheel. So if you think bridge is here, okay, and then full wheel is when the hands push in and we lift it up, okay. So this isn't just the exercises I'm going to show you in this video aren't just to progress onto that final pose. You don't have to push to that max. The exercises I'm going to show you are generally going to be quite good for the target areas that we're looking at. So with wheel pose, what tends to be the sort of the wall when we try to get up into wheel is tightness around our quads, so the front of our legs, and also tightness in our shoulders. So what we're going to do is go through some sort of step-by-step stretches and poses that you can practice and hold to increase that flexibility here and here. And then gradually over time, if you want to then try and go up into wheel, then you can. Otherwise, it's just going to be beneficial anyway for those parts of the body. So the first thing we'll look at is the upper body. So this tends to be the area that I think is the tightest when we come up into bridge. I've seen some people, participants, would push up and the flexibility in the back is there. All that's holding back is here, the front of the shoulders. Oh, and we will look at some lower back stuff as well. Okay, anyway, enough talking. So we'll go through upper body first. So you can use blocks. If you have blocks, use them for the stretches. Otherwise, you can use a chair or something. You can place a chair in front of you and you can use it exactly the same, okay? So I'm just going to show you with the blocks. So I've got more space there. So your blocks, you always keep them shoulder width apart, okay? Your knees are going to come right back and you want your hips to stay in line with your knees. So you want to make sure you're quite far away. And what you're going to do is you're going to drop your chest down, okay? And what this does is it stretches out through the chest, stretches through your shoulders. So you want to try and keep your hands up. You want to try and get your chest as low as possible. If that is too much, we have done this pose before, you can take puppy pose, okay? Let's bring my knees back a bit. You want to try and get your chest down towards the floor. The blocks just add a little bit more intensity to it because your hands are then higher than your chest eventually. See what I mean? Because if you're in puppy, there's only so far you can go. So you might start with puppy pose and then gradually come onto this. And you want to try and hold this pose for probably about, I would say, 20 to 30 seconds. And then maybe just come back, take a few downward facing cats, just wriggle through the shoulders and the back. And then you can come back in for another round, yeah? So you want to try and do this maybe 2 or 3 times. And make sure you're using your breath, of course, so as you're holding the stretch. Breathe in, and when you exhale, that's where you want to try and relax the shoulders and relax the chest down. Quite hard to talk in this pose. Okay, so that's your first stretch. Ooh, I feel that already. Your next one. So we'll probably only use the blocks for that, to be honest. Maybe bring them in later. The next pose we're going to look at is going to stretch out our pec. It's called a pec stretch. So this one, coming into it, you want to start on your front. Yes, we're going to start on our front. Okay, so the position of the arms, you're going to have one arm out straight. I'm just going to show you what it looks like from the front. It's palm facing down. So I'm going to take my arm to the back. And then what happens here, we've done this I think maybe in a class, maybe in a twist session. So you keep the palm facing down, arm is directly out to the side. You're going to roll back. So this top foot comes back and you're just going to roll, see how that feels. And you can use your hand here to just guide you. So if you want more pressure, you can push your hand into the floor. Okay. And again, hold that for about 20-30 seconds, roll back, and then come back in. Now, if that feels okay, what you can do to add even more to this, you start from seated, bring your arm and shoulder down, a little bit more fiddly to come into, okay? And then you roll your knees up, yeah? Feel that a lot more. So you want to try and get your hips down towards the floor. My back hip is not on the ground, okay? I can tell you that. I'm definitely more on one side, but I want to try and get that feeling of rolling back. Keep the feet down, yeah. And then of course you would do that on both arms, maybe just 2 times, yeah. You don't need to just hold for too long straight away, because we don't usually do these sort of stretches, so you'll probably feel these the first time you do it. Shoulders might be a bit sore. So that's your second one. And then from here, after all that, because you've opened the chest up quite a lot, really simple, just take the arm across the body. This is kind of more of a release, to be honest. Okay, so shoulders pulled back and the shoulder blade is sliding down your back. Sometimes when we do this, our shoulder comes up like that. So we want to try and just slot it down. And then of course you'd repeat that on the other arm as well. Okay, so from there, so that's your shoulders. So we're going to leave them alone now. Another thing we're going to do is, this will help your back, but it will also continue to help the chest. So we've done this before, we're going to take camel, okay? Oh, but before we go into camel, sorry, we take a cobra. So this will sort of warm us up. So cobra, we all know, hips down. This is for your hips, okay? And for the front of the legs. So you're going to push the hands into the floor, but you're also warming up the back. So we know this pose very well. We know if we need to, we can always come down and then maybe push up. So it really just depends how warm you are. Try and warm up before you do any of these stretches. So just take some sun salutations. Don't just go straight in. Okay, and then after cobra, we take camel. So you come up onto your knees. Now camel pose isn't always everyone's favourite, okay? It does put pressure into the back if you go in incorrectly, if you go too far. So tuck the toes and your knees stay hip width apart, okay? And what you want to do first is just place the hands on the back of the hips, drive your hips forward. So think about squeezing through the glutes, pushing forward, rolling those shoulders back, and then just opening up through the heart space, okay? So this is good for the chest, this would be good for the back. If you want to, you can then bring your hands down to maybe the heels or ankles. I find this a bit easier than supporting the back, because then once I'm there, I can sort of push away from the feet. So you want to really drive those hips forward. Okay, now gauge how long you want to hold. It can be quite intense. So I tend to hold, maybe aim for a good sort of 6 to 8 breaths, and then bring the chin down, safely come out, and always take child's pose after as your counter pose. Okay, so in any of the stretches we've done so far, always release afterwards. Okay. All right, so from here, so we focused quite high on upper body. Now we're going to bring ourselves into bridge, and then here we're going to look at the thighs as well. Now there's only so much you can sort of do here with certain poses. we're going to just sort of look at one option today. You can do, sorry, just before I go into it. So there is something you can do, swan pose. So you know swan, we're seated or we can extend. In swan, you can bring your foot in, and that is always a really good stretch for your quad, okay? We're not going to look at the technique of it today. I know some of you know this quite well anyway from classes. So with swan, you can always have a little look and just pull that foot in. So basically what that does is stretches out here. But what we're going to look at is how we can stretch both at the same time. So you're going to start in a position where you're seated, heels nice and wide, sit the hips down, okay? Now you may feel this already, okay? You can keep a bit of space between the knees. So if I look towards you, I'm sitting down like this, okay? Now sometimes that isn't comfortable. If it's not comfortable, you may want to just rise up slightly, bring your hands back, and then you might just slowly think about easing the hips down, okay? If you can get the hips on the floor, then I want you to lean back. Can you come onto the hands? Or maybe onto the forearms. Yeah, you should feel stretched down the front here. This can be a little bit uncomfortable on the knees depending on how your knee joints are, okay? So just be mindful. And of course from there, if you want to, you can come fully onto the ground and lay onto your back. Try to just relax into this one. Okay. And again, hold that. Try and lay there for about 30 seconds to a minute if you can. Or if you're here, push into the hands. And then when you come out, very safely come forward, turn the feet in. You might want to just take downward facing dog. Yeah. So quads are a funny one to stretch out. We don't really hit a lot of poses where we're deeply stretching them. Even in camel, you will naturally be stretching them a bit here because you're getting the front of the hips. So I would suggest swan is a good one, pull the foot in, laying back, or always do standing, bringing your knee in, okay? So you might prefer this option. You can target it a bit better. Use the side, don't focus on the balance, okay? Think about the knees coming in together, squeezing the glutes, driving the hips forward. So that is where you get the stretch. Sometimes we can just hold and the leg's too relaxed. So think in, forward, heel to glute, okay? So I hope that covers here, all right? So what we're going to do now is think about how we can push now into wheel. So wheel. We start with bridge first, okay? So bridge, your feet are hip width apart. Knees roughly over the toes, palms facing down. We can progress up to bridge either here, hips off the floor, or you can link the hands together. If you're kind of on that way to wheel, this is probably the option for you. Tuck the shoulders under and then drive those hips up nice and high. And then your knees in. Okay, so often the knees can flow out. So squeeze the inner thigh muscles together and hold up in bridge. Okay. So again, hold bridge maybe for about 20-30 seconds and then gently roll yourself down. Okay, so you can come up and down a few times. That will help improve the back flexibility and it will target the front of the body as well to stretch out here. So we're now at that point where we're kind of halfway there with coming up. The next stage would be to put the hands into the floor. So I'm going to show you one more progression, can't speak, so one more progression before you then take that full push. So from there, if you feel comfortable with bridge, we're going to place the hands, so you want them as close to your ears as possible, okay, above the shoulders. Your next part is we're going to push up and place the crown of the head onto the mat. So I'm going to push my hands into the floor, place the crown of my head down, make sure it's comfortable,
keep my hands there for support. So keep pushing your hands into the ground. My elbows are bent. I'm squeezing through the glutes. I'm pushing my hips up high. Okay? So this point, I want you to try and hold in, because this will help increase back flexibility. Just going to come down, chat. So this will increase back flexibility. And it's sort of that point before we push fully up, okay? When we push up, what tends to be the tightness is here. So this is a good point to find before that. If you know you're tight in your shoulders, take that option first. Cool. And then all you have to do from there is that final push, lifting up, okay? So I'm going to show you the full pose one more time. So from there, so you can gradually work from this point first, okay? And then last push, up, and then think push through the feet to open the chest, okay? And safely come down always by bringing the shoulders first, then the hips, okay? So, I hope that was useful. So just remember, when you're coming into wheel, it's about opening up through here as much as possible and then driving through your feet. So if you push through the feet and open that chest, you're going to get a much rounder shape in the body. Cool. Anyway, knackered now. So I hope that helps. If there's any questions you have additional to that, let me know, and I'll speak to you all soon and see you in the week. Bye.